So they finished my flooring today.
Wow, that should feel good.
I just wish our dependents from the bathroom would finish.
like the moon, because I've just been able to reflect all the light that she is shining, and then it kind of just lets me glow as I walk beside her. So it's been a pleasure to be on this journey, and thank you guys for all your support of us.
Well, the bad news is now the state's going to keep her busy, and I was happy.
Very busy.
Now we move on to a couple resolutions, and I'll start with the first one. Is for Cook's Day. As part of National School Lunch Week, October 10th
Feel
through
free to
14th,
go.
we celebrate Cook's Day
Feel
on
free to go.
October 12th, 2022. Whereas the kitchen is the heart of the home and the cafeteria is the heart of the school, whereas the school is the heart of the community. Therefore, I, Ron Lytle, President of the Monongalia County Board of Education, proclaim Wednesday, October 12th, 2022, as School Lunch Hero Day. School nutrition professionals, the lunch ladies, and the mealmen have the knowledge and expertise to get the job done. Most importantly, the Monongalia County's cafeteria staff have the heart to make the connection to the students they serve each and every day. So, that's our first one, and our second one is the National School Bus Safety Week. National School Bus Safety Week, October 17th through 21st. One bus plus one drive, one equals 8 impact on education. Whereas student transportation administrators and operators have made diligent in their effort to ensure the safe and efficient transportation of thousands of students on a daily basis, and their efforts are crucial to the operation of our public schools. And whereas students are 7 times more likely to get to school safely when they take a bus instead of traveling by car, and whereas student transportation employees are highly trained professionals who have student safety in mind, and whereas school buses provide the most and sometimes only reliable form of transportation to and from school, which promotes attendance and punctuality and encourages better student achievement. Therefore, I, Ron Lytle, President of the Monongalia County Board of Education, do hereby proclaim the week of October 17th and 21st as National School Bus Safety Week and School Bus Transportation Employees Appreciation Week. Thank you very much to our cooks, and thank you also to our bus drivers. I will make that excellent. And now we move on to delegations. I'm going to sign wherever we're signing. It's perfectly clear. And we're going to give 5 minutes because we only have 4 this evening. So speakers are requested to express themselves in a civil manner with due respect for dignity and privacy of others and not affected by your comments. While it is not our intent to silence public comments, speakers should be aware that if your statement violates the rights of others under the law of defamation and invasion of privacy, you will be held legally responsible. You may be held legally responsible. If you are unsure of the legal ramifications of what you're about to say, we urge you to consult your legal advisor. So, our first delegation tonight is Jeffrey A. Bailey. Concern is dyslexia.
Yes, good evening. My name is Jeffrey Bailey. I'm a resident of Monongalia County, a product of the public schools in Kanawha County, West Virginia. Some friends of ours created a Monty Bailey Dyslexia Advocacy Awareness after my wife's name, after she passed away 2.5 years ago. But as a parent of a dyslexic child, she's very concerned about the kids that weren't getting help like our child. In October is National Dyslexia Awareness. So we'd like to encourage you folks to focus a little bit on dyslexia during this month. And we would like to tell you who we are, which is basically a 501c3 nonprofit. We've raised some money. We're seeking to develop a partnership with the school system if possible to assist you in helping to elevate the reading of our students here in Monongalia County. Specifically, for example, I believe our reading on appropriate grade level is 59% in Monongalia County, if I'm not mistaken. And over in Loudoun County, Virginia, that has embraced the dyslexia training program, their students is 84%. Now, I don't believe that they have any better teachers than Amber or anybody else in Monongalia County, and I don't believe our students are less capable. I believe what we need to do is focus in on screening, remediation, and mitigation of students that have dyslexia. And when you find out more about dyslexia, what you will find out is that it is common, up to 20% of the people have it, that it is mitigatable, and that it is economical to do so. And we are here to help you find a path, and we would be glad to assist you in any way, which means train teachers, help screen kids, do whatever it takes to make sure kids are screened, they're identified, they're diagnosed, and their issues are addressed in an appropriate classroom manner. I believe that if I were running the school board here, I would empower a Citizens Advisory Council to try to address the reading deficiencies in Monongalia County and try to move forward to try to see if we can't get to the 84%, well, even if we just get to 72. But each one of these percentages represents real people, real children in crisis, real parents in crisis, real teachers in crisis, and this obviously rolls up to the school board eventually. So we're here to help, and we know that there's a lot of challenges with this, but it's just a matter really of looking at it a different way and coming up with the appropriate resources to develop a program, a comprehensive program. This has been done worldwide, nationwide. We're just behind the curve a little bit here in West Virginia. I believe in my heart that the greatest threat to this country is the possible failure of the public education system, not foreign enemies. And what you folks do, I appreciate you volunteering your time and efforts and being concerned about the public schools. It's vital to our national security. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Trenton Bailey. The concern is dyslexia.
Hello, my name is Trenton Bailey. A little bit about me. I'm dyslexic. In midway through high school at University High, I had to leave and go to a very expensive boarding school in upstate New York because of the systematic failure of Monongalia County schools being unable to provide educational resources to dyslexic students. Currently, our highest reading literacy rate is one school, Suncrest Middle School, at 66%, with the lowest having a reading level at accuracy on grade level of 52%. Neither of these grades would pass me in an engineering course at WVU. So I would like to talk about how many students we think that that's missing. That's about 10,000 students, depending on how you want to cut that number for the various years. And these people are in our electorate. We're talking about people that aren't going to the next level of education. We're talking about the students who are dropping out of schools. You know, if we're able to increase our literacy rates, think of how many more people are going to make it to graduation. Right now, this county spends about $170 million as a whole operation. It costs $3,000 to properly train a teacher to teach a dyslexic student. I think that there's clearly room in the budget for training possibly as many as 20 teachers to get it across the system and have a new implementation. These programs, the structured literacy is what it's called. It's a various based off of a phonetic system. We can get into the details later, but I'll save some time. By focusing on these structured literacy programs, especially at an early age, you're able to reduce the effects of dyslexia, and in fact, at a young enough age, for lower severe cases, you can reduce it to being non-existent at all. I think that if we were to invest some money in training teachers to properly teach dyslexic students, we would have a great increase not only in how many students are going to graduate, but our literacy rates as a whole. I think that as a 10-year aggregate, only having 54% of your students reading on grade level is an atrocity. I think that we can clearly do better, And if that means that you need somebody to help you write checks, people to give you directional advice, we're here to help. We don't want to be in an adversarial relationship with anybody. We clearly think that the school board is the right way to approach this, because if you're going to get something done, you have to approach the leaders. And we're here to lead with you in a collaborative manner. But that is where I sit. I think that we really need to increase our literacy rates as a county. I think that this is something we can all get behind. There's 20 people in this room, give or take. That's enough minds to put together how to get these children reading. It's not rocket science. It's solved. We just need to put economic resources behind it. And that's all I have to say on the matter.
Thank you. Our next delegation is Reverend Jenny Williams, and it's allyship with LGBTQ+ people.
Hi, I'm Reverend Jenny Williams. My pronouns are she and her, and I want to wish everybody a happy National Coming Out Day. I want to thank you for discussing the issue of the removal of pride flags at your last meeting on September 27. I've spent some time reflecting on the board's conversation, and I even went back and watched that portion of the meeting again to make sure that I recalled the themes and the language correctly. And after re-watching, I really do believe that you want to make the schools a place where the students can grow, thrive, and flourish. And so thank you for that. You recognize the value of a place where everyone feels like they belong. In the last meeting, the word ally was used a number of times. Mr. Lytle said that there was no bigger ally in this room than he, and described all those who are part of the educational system as allies. In case you were not aware, the word ally is a very weighty word for the LGBTQ+ community. It's not to be taken lightly or self-assigned with ease. Becoming an ally is an evolution that takes place over a long period of time, and I think y'all are on the path in terms of your desires for LGBTQ+ students to feel welcome and included in their own schools. But some of the actions and the language that I saw and heard in this room 2 weeks ago don't match that desire. I'd like to give you some things to think about in your journey of allyship. If you really want to be an ally to queer kids and parents, faculty, and staff, you'll think about the things that I'm going to say, even if you don't like them, and even if you feel like pushing back right off the bat. Mr. Lytle, you stated in the last meeting that you, quote, don't know the terminology for matters around queer inclusion. Learning the terminology is part of the process of allyship. It takes work, but thankfully the internet makes it pretty easy. You've made that confession publicly, and so I challenge you in the next step to work on it. You also stated at one point in a comical tone, I found out I was cisgender in the last 2 weeks. That's incredibly disrespectful. It diminishes everything that a transgender person goes through, all the struggle, all the discrimination, and the hate they receive. You also mentioned regarding this policy that you've struggled for weeks with it. I appreciate that, but an ally would recognize from spending significant time listening to LGBTQ+ people, and I mean years, not just a few times, that that kind of comment is incredibly insensitive. LGBTQ+ folks struggle for years and decades with their true identity, and the fact that someone had a hard time with a policy for just a few weeks isn't noteworthy when you're addressing a room full of people whose struggle for their very existence is a daily difficulty. All of these things that I've mentioned are called microaggressions, and even a queer person who's confidently out publicly receives an infinite number of these over their lifetime, sort of like death by 1,000 little cuts. I'm not here for the purpose of putting Mr. Lytle on the spot personally. I've worked with you in other settings with the city, and I've watched your willingness to learn and seen you deftly facilitate difficult conversations and bring a lot of people into them, and I appreciate that. Dr. Campbell, Mr. Lytle, and others on the board repeatedly said that you want the students to feel safe. And Mr. Lytle was generous in making sure that the students knew that his email address and phone number were available on the board website. And he said to the students, if you're having trouble and don't feel safe in our schools, you let us know and it will be taken care of. The thing is, they told you that they don't feel safe. They repeatedly told you what would make them feel safe. They and parents and teachers in the school system and professors and medical professionals told you these things for almost 2 hours over the course of 2 meetings. And yet their solution for what would make them feel safe seems to be not right for you. You want a different solution. And this is what majority populations do. We say to minority populations, we want to help you. And we really do want to help. I truly believe that. But when the minority population says, here's how you can help, the majority population's response is almost always, oh no, not that way. The majority population doesn't see why their solution is appropriate because we don't know their struggle. We don't live their lives. We don't really understand why a rainbow flag means the world to them. What majority populations do is trust our own perspective. We decide we want to start a new program with a new focus and a new way of doing things. And if that's what you're going to embark on, it will take so long that the students who are telling you that they don't feel safe now, who are harmed now, who are asking for help now, they won't even be in the schools anymore. So you can find lots of reasons to disagree with what I'm saying, and I sympathize. I've been there. We who have the right desires, like including everybody, tend to say, but I'm a good person, right? And we don't stop to critically evaluate whether our words or actions match our desires. It took me personally many conversations to finally get to the point where I could see where I was making missteps and mistakes, and I still make mistakes. And at times, it's still hard to critically evaluate myself. But that's what we do if we want to be allies. Not call ourselves allies, but be allies. So I'm happy to meet with any of you who'd like to discuss these things further, and I'm happy to walk with you on the road to actively being an ally to the students who are telling you that they need help. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is William Alkiri, and it's policy 3231.01.
Hello, I'm William Alcar, and I'd like to start by thanking Reverend Williams for saying so many of my own thoughts and words I hoped to bring to this meeting so much better than I ever could. I'd like to talk to you about the policy you mentioned, which is, of course, about participation in political activities. Now, I have the policy here on my phone, if you'll allow me to read the section of the policy I believe the board is trying to enforce. If I am correct, it is section C of the policy after the word specifically saying, let me make sure. Yes. Non-school related political and or commercial literature or campaign posters supporting one or more candidates, issues, or a particular point of view shall not be displayed within the schools or on school-owned or occupied property unless done as part of an approved teaching unit. That is the policy, or the section of the policy that I believe the board or the Office of the Superintendent in its decision is trying to enforce. Now, to many of us who came to these meetings, that seems strange. The policy specifically, and not just in that part, and every part of the policy, calls out literature. Literature, literature, and only literature. Now, there is no legal definition of literature. There is some case law regarding it that I have found. Most of this case law is around copyright law and the definition of a legal work in the U.S. Copyright Code. There are academic definitions of literature. I'll read a few from the Merriam-Webster Dictionary now, the first being writing in prose or verse. The second, an example of such writings in prose or verse. The body of writings on a particular subject. The body of written works produced in a particular language, country, or age. Printed matter, such as leaflets or circulars. The production of literary work, especially as an occupation. The aggregate of a usually specified type of musical compositions. And archaic literary culture. Now, I am not a lawyer. I am not a linguist by trade. But to me, it does not seem that either the policy, any of the U.S. or West Virginia legal code that I am aware of, nor the academically accepted definition of literature includes a flag. And if we are to say that the U.S. flag and the West Virginia flag are not political statements, they do not support a single point of view, they represent a conglomerate, a group of disparate people working together towards a better future, you must, I implore you, recognize that the pride flag does the same thing. The LGBTQ plus community is not a monolith. They often work together, they often fight together because they have been oppressed since the foundation of this country. But they are not one group with one view. They are hundreds of groups, millions of people in our country and across the world. And they disagree, they have different views and different beliefs. The pride flag in that matter is no different from the US flag or the West Virginian flag. It is about a disparate group of people coming together to move towards the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Superintendent, I'm going to take our agenda out of order so we can move reports, discussion, follow-up action, A, 4-H update to what we're going to work on currently.
Well, hey, it's good to see everybody. My name is Becca Fink-Clark, and I have the great honor of serving as the 4-H Extension Agent through WVU here in Monongalia County. And so we always love to come and show you our appreciation for the support that you provide to our 4-H program. I think that our 4-H program is thriving in Monongalia County, and I think a lot of that has to do with the support from our Board of Education. So thank you so much. I've been here for quite many years, so this is my 15th year, and I remember the first time I came to the Board of Ed meeting, and I was so nervous, and I wasn't sure and I'm still nervous, but I wasn't sure where to start or where to go, and boy, things have just, I'm really proud of our program. So thank you all so much for your support. We had camp. It was wonderful. We invited you to come, but unfortunately someone had COVID, so we thought it would be best if you didn't. But thank you, because I know a number of you love coming to 4-H camp, and so hopefully we'll be able to get you out there next summer. It was the first summer in 2 years that we did have camp, and so it was welcome back, and I know that our young people enjoyed being there. We had our fairs. They were also really wonderful this summer. This fall, we are starting back into our club year. We are reaching over 7,000 youth annually, which is one of the largest numbers in the state, and so we're proud of what we can do, and we're proud that we have great relationships with our schools. So they always welcome us with open arms. Today, I spent the morning at North Elementary teaching hand washing, and so there's some great quotes from that, and I just love being out with the young people. You know Heather. I brought her and introduced you to her before. She is celebrating 2 years as our 4-H program assistant. And as a reminder, you all provide the salary through the levy so that we can hire our program assistant. And I really am not sure what we would do without her. So she works so hard to make sure that all the youth are reached and 4-H is thriving here in the county. I'm also proud to announce that she did receive an award from WVU Extension. So she was selected as individual excellence on the county level, so throughout the whole state, so we're proud of the work that she does. So Heather and I could come up and we could talk enthusiastically about 4-H for as long as you want to hear it, but it's so important that you hear from our young people. So we invited one of our 4-Hers to come and talk to you about her experiences this summer with 4-H, so we will turn the mic over to Jessica Gregory.
Thank you, Becca. That was very sweet of you. Hello, everyone. My name is Jessica Gregory. I am currently a junior in Morgantown High. I am here to talk about 4-H and their shooting sports program, and specifically because I am what I represented for West Virginia in the national competition in Grand Island, Nebraska. In 5th grade, I joined the Little Indian Creek 4-H Air Rifle Club. This club was the gateway to other opportunities like traveling and meeting the people across the state in state competitions. I have earned opportunities to represent Monongalia County at the regional, state, and national levels for the air rifle program. I have been a part of this program for about 6 years, and now I volunteer with the club to help teach other participants techniques and safety. Lessons I've learned in 4-H shooting sports is gun safety, how to manage pressure in certain situations, more likely matches, I have been leading by example and teaching others by going off to nationals and other state competitions. I have learned how to travel efficiently and effectively, which is very important. I have also learned to try your best no matter what the outcome. Sometimes you have good days, sometimes you have bad days. It just depends on how it is. 4-H Nationals is one of the highest honors. It is held in Grand Island, Nebraska. 38 states were represented here at the Grand Island Nebraska in the 2022 competition. West Virginia, in specifically their air rifle team, placed 9th in the country. So that would be me and my teammates. In West Virginia, the top 4 competitors are chosen. Due to mishaps this year, others had to be chosen. I was one of the people who stepped up to represent. 4-H right now in West Virginia has other disciplines like shotgun, archery, and muzzleloader. Part of the 4-H program is to give back to our communities and make things better. So what is 4-H shooting sports doing nationally for gun safety? As of right now, this National Shooting Sports Division has started a program called Guardians for Health to help prevent misuse of firearms and violence and suicide. Currently, there are 21 states in the program. West Virginia is included, which means that will be implemented into our safety programs. It is a collaboration between Brown University, Rhode Island Hospital, AFIRM Foundation by the Aspen Institute, and obviously 4-H Shooting Sports, and is also funded by the CDC. This is a national program. Directly from their website, their goal is to create, deliver, and evaluate a violence prevention curriculum for youth ages 12 and up in a 4-H shooting sports program. The 3-part curriculum is co-taught by the Brown University staff and 4-H shooting sports instructors to educate youth and about different types of firearm injuries, different types of risks, and signs of that are a risk for firearm injury and present for others. It then teaches a variety of strategies that youth can safely implement to mitigate these risks and break down barriers to taking action. And the goal is for Guardians to help is to put 4-H shooting sports at the forefront of empowering our teens and to promote firearm safety anywhere the risk is present. This is important due to the fact that the 4-H is a nationally known organization and is often giving back to their community. It is a very great experience. I am very happy to be a part of the shooting sports program. I'm very happy to be part of 4-H and our very lovely 2 agents right here who have seen me since I was in 4th grade grow up. I would recommend 4-H to any youth coming in. Not even just shooting sports. We have other stuff like project books. We have livestock judging. Obviously, their camps are the most popular in Mon County that I know of. We started that back up I was a teen counselor. That was interesting. And overall...
Yeah, that was interesting.
Definitely. Help them. I love them, but help them. But overall, while I may be a little bit biased because I have been in 4-H for a very long time, I'm going to say that it is an excellent program. I would recommend it to anyone, anywhere. It's not even just farming, which seems to be the stereotype across school. But anyway, thank you for letting me talk, and goodbye.
So in 4-H, we say how. So how to Jessica. Jessica is representative of the most important thing to 4-H, and that's our members, that's our youth. And so you can see she is an excellent public speaker, probably better than me. But we're so proud of what our 4-Hers accomplished, and we were so proud of Jessica representing us at the National 4-H Shooting Sports competition. So we can entertain any questions. I also wanted to mention, too, that we worked with Susan Taylor this summer, so we were able to get into Summer Avalanche, do some programming there. Heather and I we love writing grants, we love finding money, and so we're teaching all kinds of things that we didn't know we'd teach, a lot of STEM. But anyway, so I can't say how much we love our jobs. We love what we do, and so we appreciate you all. So are there any questions?
You knew I was going to say something.
Yeah, I was glad when you walked in the door.
Actually, I just want to give a shout out. I met a young lady within the past year Her name was Mildred Pfizer.
Oh, yes.
She's 102.
Yep.
And I don't want to make her older because she'll slap me. I think she's 100. I knew she's 101. But anyway, she was the first state director, right? Of
That's correct.
4-H.
Yep.
And also the first national director of 4-H. Started out as a school teacher and worked her way all the way up through. And what a joy! What a wealth of information. I talked to her for hours, and I asked her one time what's within her lifespan, different things. Her mind is just sharp as ever, and she remembers all of that stuff. But we talk about 4-H a lot. She knew everybody. She knew you, and I mean, I was just shocked as I'd known her for a while talking. I didn't know who I was talking to at the time, but yeah, what a great lady, and I just want to give a shout out to her, and I hope she has many more birthdays.
She's like a 4-H treasure to West
She is.
Virginia
Oh, my
4-H. I mean,
goodness.
she lives at Heritage Point, and so we do a sing-along, and there's a lot of Extension and 4-H retirees that live there, and so we go and sing old 4-H songs, and they're all crying, and it's just so meaningful. It's one of the best activities we do, so she's a treasure.
Yeah, what a sense of humor. I mean, she has that dry humor.
Yeah.
But she's, absolutely, that's a good way of putting it. She is a treasure for this state, and
Thank
hope
you.
she does well for many, many more years.
Anything else? We appreciate Nancy being on our Extension Service Committee and representing you all and hearing kind of the things that Extension is doing. And so we had a meeting last night, and we appreciate her service for that. So.
And we did miss the bonfire.
Yeah,
We didn't get to do it, but
we'll get you. We'll get you there
year.
next summer.
Yeah.
And I just hope others in the community realize, I was in 4-H, I did not have a farm animal or anything else, and I was in more or less a city club, but the goals that it has for students feeling comfortable, being able to talk in front of people, being able to present other things, those are life skills that you can use forever. And I'm glad that we're able to introduce 4-H and the Extension, different things Extension does into the schools, so as people age, they realize you can really rely on them for a lot of information or networking if you want to find out how to do something in the county. And last evening you talked about Olive, who has made 200 quilts and just is 96 years old and still teaching quilting. And I think that it's a home for a lot of folks who want to give back to others. So I'm hoping we can continue to try and promote that with a lot of families and students that may be looking for something they think might be productive for them. So, and we do have a great staff. There's been a lot of transition in the staff, but it was apparent last evening there's a lot of goals for what they want to see happen in Monongalia County as they serve the farm community, the livestock community, the farming, just all the different communities that are out here. We're a very diverse place, and there's a home for everyone somewhere. So 4-H is a great place to start, I think, for a lot of people that may traditionally have not thought of that it was for them.
It's lifelong friendships. I mean, you could be like you said, a 90-year-old 4-H'er and still friends. I mean, it's amazing.
It's true. Yeah, we're very fortunate. So again, thank you. I hear all these horror stories from other agents who don't have quite the relationship that we do, and so I just really appreciate the support. I mean, I cannot say it enough. It's wonderful that we are welcomed in the schools. We're expanding our reach. We're going to work with the Excel students. We've been doing some career readiness in the middle and high schools. Usually we focus on elementary school. We're still doing that as well. So we really do appreciate you. So thank you so much.
Before you leave, for the public, what's the H's stand for?
Oh, Jessica should tell you
That's
what
what
the H's do.
I didn't want to put her on the spot.
Usually we sing camp songs. We're doing the pledge. So I didn't make Jessica do that this evening, but no, you're good. No, come tell them the H's though.
Yeah, what the H's stand for.
You're not done yet.
What is it? You don't have to say the pledge. You just have to say what they are.
The 4-H's is head, heart, hands, and health. Each one of them stands for, the hands stand back to giving back to your community. Head is obviously thinking and using critical thinking skills to improve further you down through life. Health is self-explanatory, and heart is giving and loving back to your community, just letting people in with open arms.
Look how simple life is.
She might be an extension agent
Yeah.
one day.
Very good.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having us.
Yes, thank you. All right, Superintendent, going back.
Mike, I need you to be the one.
You would? Oh,
Moving back up to the top, thank you. If you guys want to sneak out, we're about ready to. Wonderful, good job. Superintendent, discussions and/or other.
I move we enter into executive session under West Virginia Code 6-9A-4 to seek legal advice on the matter of flags in the classroom from an attorney for the Board of Education.
I need a second.
Second.
Okay, I have a first and a second, that we enter into executive session for, I'm trying to find the exact code, the West Virginia Code 6-9A-4 to seek legal advice on flags in the classroom. And do we have any discussion?
Yeah, why are we going into executive session for this?
It's under legal advice.
Okay, all right.
Any other? All in favor of going into executive session signify by aye. Aye. Opposed, the same? Okay, let's clear the room.
Cover your-
We're now coming back into regular session, having taken no action while in executive session, and I'm going to open the floor up to the board members for any comments they have about the legal update. Hearing none. Yeah.
I really have an issue with this. I just still don't see where the pride flag, banning the pride flag falls within this policy. And I hate to see this go to rest, and I would like to make a motion that we move on this further and put it to a vote for the board.
A second.
Any other conversations? Okay. Go ahead.
Clerk, when you're talking about further discussion, is that what you mean when, or an actual vote on the,
I would like to have a vote.
on the, I mean, in the future?
To-
Right
to
now, we're just
include-
voting whether to
yes,
discuss it
that
again.
we should not ban the pride flag.
I'm going to be clear. The motion is to,
Exclude the pride flag from the policy 3231.1.
I can't, that's not on the agenda at this time. We do not have that as an agenda item this evening.
Can we include it under the action item legal update?
The action item was there just so I could record the vote for executive session. That was
Yeah.
not an action item, that was a discussion item. But I can't record the vote for executive session. Having it there.
Can we put this vote on the next meeting then? And I would like to ask personally,
Then we need to walk backwards.
walk backwards.
I need you to take your motion back, and then I would have to have Dan take his motion back, if that's what you guys want to do, to put it on a future board agenda.
Well, he just needs to take his off and then the meeting.
Yeah,
can
Okay,
take
I
I'll
guess
take-
it does.
I'll rescind mine.
Okay, and if we want to go into conversation, or if you want to make another motion?
If we could, if we're going to vote on this at the next board meeting, I will not be present. I would like to be present for this vote. So if we could have a special session, I'd be happy to do that before the 18th. I would hate to put it off until November.
What is next Tuesday?
Next Tuesday's the 18th.
I won't be here. It would have to be Friday or Monday.
And that's, actually, I'll be in Charleston for the Education Alliance and the presentation from our students
When's that?
next Tuesday. During the day, and I'm not even sure what time that's done, to be honest.
You wouldn't be able to get back in time for a meeting.
Okay.
I plan to be there as well, but
Are you back on the 25th, Jen?
I'm back on the 2nd.
That puts it November 8th.
Is that a possibility?
I could call in, but I would prefer to be here for this vote. Can we do a Friday or a Monday meeting? We just have to do 3 days notice. I know you all love to hang out.
You guys can motion you guys can make a motion that we have a special meeting any day you guys want to.
Was everybody available?
Depends on what day you pick.
What about Friday or Monday?
I know I personally only set Tuesday evenings where I don't have other events. And I know the next 2 weeks are going to be hit and miss for me on any other day. So I'd have to look at my calendar before you set a meeting tonight.
Pull my calendar up and
What about Monday the 17th?
Now remember, we have the the 8th of November is Election Day, so.
7th is the actual
7th is
day
the
that
actual
we're
meeting.
having it then. And she's back after the next Tuesday.
I'm not here Friday.
What's the 11th look like? Not the 11th.
That looks
The
pretty good.
17th.
That's today.
Today, it was red, the 17th.
Are you talking 6 in the evening?
Whatever, sure. Stan,
Today's the 17th, Monday.
It's a Monday.
I don't think I am.
And then you're gonna miss the meeting the 25th, and then you're not back till, you said the 2nd, which is a Wednesday. So then that puts that on the 7th.
You're not available on the 17th. We may have to wait till November 7th. I hate to drag it out that long, but I think it's important everyone's here.
sorry, the trip was planned for 3 years.
I'm still open. I'm just waiting to hear what someone wants to say.
So 17th is off the table, is that what I'm hearing?
I think so.
All right, I guess if we could put it on the 7th, then
That needs to be a motion.
a motion that we make a decision on the, or put it on the agenda for discussion and potential decision on the 7th of November. The pride flag as it pertains to policy 3231.1. Is that clear?
I second it.
Now we're going to have discussion before we do this. This board, as a political body, has the ability to approve or disapprove or interpret that policy. And it's not particular to 3231.05. I think it's state.
01.
01, okay. So changing that policy still puts us in the political position of having a conversation, that conversation can be that we don't want to have any flags. I mean, from legal counsel, we have heard several times that we as a board can make that decision without that policy. We can make that decision in any capacity as this governing board, and that's everyone says this is not political. As I said, this is a very political thing, and we are elected officials, and we're going to make a decision whether we decide to talk about 3231, or if we decide, then once that discussion's over, then there's another discussion. Is there any flags banned? What flags are banned? So this is going to drag out for a very long time. But I don't have a problem having a conversation and putting it on as an action item if directed by this board for the November 7th. And that's what we have a motion and a second to. So does anyone have any conversation that they want to have that would, because this conversation will be I want you guys to feel like you've said everything you want to say before we vote on this.
Well, like I said, this was not political. We made it political by banning it from the classroom. And
I'm Dan. I got to be cautious that we don't talk about the decision. I'm talking about putting it on the agenda. And that's, you know, I'm trying to be
Okay,
careful. We don't
all right.
have that discussion now. We need to have the discussion whether we should put this on the agenda. And with that said, the reason I said what I said was that the 3231 doesn't all encompass the decision here. I mean, this decision is a board decision. So if your motion is to discuss 3231 and your second is to discuss 3231 is what I understand. Is there any other discussion if that's inclusive enough?
I mean, I would like us to get to a resolution on the pride flag
And that can be part of that discussion.
in general. So if we're talking about it, whether it applies to 3231.1 or not, or just should be something else.
So clarification is this is just to discuss
And,
possible,
and make a decision.
possibly make a decision. Correct?
Needs to ask for an action item for this, and that's what it's going to be.
That's what I'm
if it
saying.
is on there.
Yeah. Well, we may not actually, may not gain any traction, but it's okay. So we're basically for discussion.
No.
And action.
This is, do you want to have an action item? Jen motioned that we were going to have an action item on
Right,
3231.
Right.
Dan seconded that motion. Is there any other discussion specific to that, and it's an action item on the board agenda?
At that time, it's an action item.
Yes, on November 7th.
I guess my point was I was meaning this vote right now has nothing to do with the policy. It's just whether we're going to have the action.
Putting it
item
on
there.
the November 7th agenda
Right.
to
I just
be
wanna make
voted
sure-
on then.
I just want to make sure it's clear so people don't go out here thinking we voted on something to do with it.
That's why I'm trying to be as clear as I can be.
You're doing a fine job.
We done? All in favor of putting policy 3231-01 as an action item on the November 7th board meeting signify by aye.
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 Opposed? Aye.
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 It's not an action item on the agenda. Superintendent, school performance, student outcomes, I think that was we were going to put on hold.
Yes.
Okay. Then reports, discussions, follow-up action. And we'll go skip down to B since we are, already had our 4-H update.
Yes, item B is a new course code request for multivariable calculus. Superintendent recommends that the board approve the course code and the course description as presented in your executive content.
I need a motion.
So moved.
I'll
Second.
second.
Okay.
Nancy, you got the second?
Yeah, Sandy, do you have any update on that for the board?
I do. When we receive courses that are not currently in the West Virginia Department of Education course code book, normally what we do is we try to align it with something that is present in that document. This particular course, as was the bike program course that I brought a couple of weeks ago, there's no alignment with any courses, so it is our direction to bring the standards to our local Board of Education for approval, and then I submit that documentation of the board meeting, the minutes, to the State Department, and they issue us a course code so this course can be transcripted on our student transcripts for credit.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, any conversations?
Are we the only county that's going to do this?
Yes,
That's
but,
great. I mean, I think that's great.
yes, and
And you've always
this-
done a really good job with this, Sandy, in
Well,
getting this
thank you.
coordinated, any courses that we can try to get on.
Yes, just provides more opportunities for our students.
Right, right.
Okay, all in favor of the new course code request, multivariable calculus, signify by aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, the same. Superintendent?
Thank you.
Item C is an accounts payable. We're going to call this one Addendum A. Superintendent recommends that the board approve Addendum A as presented, and we will need to ask
Yes,
Mr. Barry to recuse
Yeah,
himself.
I'll recuse myself.
I need a motion?
So moved.
Second that. Any discussion?
Any more?
All in favor of accounts payable addendum A signify by aye. Aye. Opposed, the same. Mr. Barry?
He didn't wander far.
Now, Mr. Cowling.
See you later,
Can I
Michael.
get Beth?
What? Oh, I was helping her.
I got logged out.
Look at mine.
They used to help me all the time. Okay, Superintendent?
Item D is accounts payable addendum. We'll call this one B. And Mr. Kelly has recused himself. Superintendent recommends that the board approve accounts payable addendum B.
Need a motion?
So moved.
I got a second from Jen.
Second.
And any questions? Okay, all in favor of accounts payable addendum B signify by aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, the same. Mr. Kelly?
Beth, can you help?
Sure. Yeah,
Right
no
here.
worries.
That's maybe just a knock.
Connection or something.
Need a red
I
light
didn't
or
have any of them.
Is that the whole straight hallway behind us?
Yeah.
So they do. Boom.
Where's the exclamation point?
Thank you.
Yeah. Superintendent, consent agenda.
All right, superintendent recommends that the board approve the consent agenda as presented to include item A, expenditures exceeding $3,000, item B, supplements and transfers, item C, payment of salaries and accounts payable, item D, the renewal of the WVU West Virginia Cardiac Project, item E, a student trip, and item F, the minutes of a previous meeting.
Need a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, any questions? Hearing none, all in favor of the consent agenda as presented signify by aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, the same. Board members, any board member updates?
MPO, which we were going to use our room here for the meeting in October, it has since been moved to November. So hopefully they contacted you, Beth.
They did.
Okay.
Bill Austin did.
Yeah, so we'll be here third Thursday in November.
I gave it to Beth. The 4-H Extension meeting, there are 2 at-large spots open. There was discussion last night, a suggestion of one actually of our teachers that I think someone's going to contact and ask. So if anyone knows anyone else who may be interested in being in the Extension Services Committee, they could let Beth know, could let me know. We're looking for volunteers or suggestions. If anyone has anyone who's interested in the county. So there's a lot going on there. I think it'd be anyone that wants to volunteer for the community would be interested.
When's the meetings?
They have them every quarter. You would take your seat in July. It is not, other than the statutory recommendations, you're not representing a region or a certain activity.
Are the
for these-
evening meetings?
No. Well, 6 o'clock on Monday has been pretty much when they've been doing it. We're going to be getting one new member. The CEO president is changing, and so that county person will be a different representative. The Farm Bureau has one, Board of Education, County Commission, and Joe Statler is one of the at-large members took a seat of someone who moved out of it. So, and he's just on as an at-large. So there's just two other at-larges.
Because I'm thinking of somebody, they don't have to be an elected official or anything.
No, they do
just
not
John
have to
Q.
be
Public.
elected official. They
Okay.
do not have to live in a certain region, like there isn't regional representation for the county. So if anyone has any suggestions,
Okay.
let me know.
Okay, actually, at this point, I would like to thank the county commission and sheriff's department for their help in the city of Morgantown, the police officers, when we did have our demonstrations a couple weeks back, keeping our kids safe, and everything went very smooth, and no incidents that we heard of, and I'm pretty sure there weren't any, so that was a great job, and I'd like to publicly thank the sheriff and his deputies and also the commission for working with them to make that happen. So, and I also want to read a letter from Jessica Robertson, who is one of our teachers at Morgantown High School, and she wrote, and this is a quotation: "The MHS Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee has been working diligently to provide solutions to students' concerns of feeling unsafe and unwelcome within their school buildings. We have 3 proposals, the first being a mandatory safe zone training provided by the WVU LGBT Center for all faculty members. The second proposal is to provide mandatory training in youth mental health first aid so that all faculty can recognize the varying signs of mental health crisis. I, and it has her name, am certified instructor for this course and am able to provide the training both in my home school and across the county, should the board and other administrators feel it is necessary for their facility, or faculty, sorry. Lastly, we will begin flex time during the week of October 17th. Charlene Scott will supervise the first meeting of our Student Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee so that we can hear directly from the students about the concerns around inclusivity. And she is a mental health first aider, which is what she's stated above. So I think Morgantown High is moving forward, and we got to continue as a board to press on that effort, and this administrative at this level needs to continue to press. And we're going to ask, as a board member update and it's going to be something required, is updates to this board of what's going on. We got to start seeing some data. I mean, I want to see, is there an uprise? Is there a rise in bullying? Is there something going on within that school system? How many reports to the principals? Things we want to see some pretty. We don't want to say, yeah, kids are feeling safe. I'd like to actually start seeing some reports on that stuff. So, this is a step in the right direction. This is a step that this board has gotten behind, and this administration has gotten behind. So, it's the beginning of a long effort, and we are going to continue to push that from this level and hopefully from all levels. So,
and let me just add to that, Mr. Lytle, that our Deputy Superintendent and I met today when we received the letter. We've discussed this at length, and we certainly intend to facilitate all 3 of their proposals. We believe they're excellent proposals that have been brought forward to the board, especially since they include the voices of our students. And so we're going to do everything that we can to make sure that these things happen as quickly as possible. So we're committed to that as an administration.
And we can probably get data on that through Weavis, right? All the discipline referrals, don't they specify, is there a bullying specification in it, or?
I don't know if that's listed individually, but
Right.
it will get to what you're talking about
Right,
here.
right.
So we do have that, and we also have the surveys that were just completed by our students at all levels, and Mike Ryan will be sharing that with you at the November meeting. And I haven't seen the data myself, but I think it gives you an array of data looking at the discipline and then looking at the students' voice themselves.
It'd be good to get that out as soon as possible to the board members so we can start.
We'll get that together for you.
In addition to that data, we can see administration's
Actions?
actions.
Absolutely.
Okay, good.
Absolutely.
And that's all anonymous. I mean, the students fill those out
Oh, yes.
themselves.
The
There's
surveys,
no,
yes.
everything's anonymous, so we would hope that everyone has been as honest as they feel they can be.
And I
Because
think
it's
our
all,
data has shown that. We've been doing that now for a full year and a half. And I think we've reported on all of that data over time, so you also have your trend data there. So I think, yes, it will speak to you and give you information for informed decisions. And I will get together, we did get the county compilations completed. So I'll get those to the superintendent by next week, so you all should have those.
Thank you. I know
Just
you
out
guys
of
are working.
curiosity, would those actions show administrators that didn't take action? Like maybe if something was left blank, do we have data on that as well?
Well, I think what the Weavis piece shows is what action was taken, and you can interpret that because sometimes no action was
Right, right,
taken.
right.
Yes. So you can see, we can see all of that in there. So we
That's
can
good.
pull those reports. Now, I will ask for a little grace on this. We've had a lot of issues with Weavis, and up until actually, I can't sit here and tell you today that section was working. I asked for that information 2 weeks ago. The state still didn't have it functioning, so we could not pull that data. So I haven't asked for a couple of weeks. I will ask that again, and as soon as we can access it. I know all our past data right now we cannot access. So we're still, most of it's been corrected overall with the Weavis issues, but not all of it. So as soon as we can pull that, and I'm hoping we can certainly have access to past data.
Does that
as well.
keep some of the infractions
Yes.
from being put in because it wasn't working?
Well, I don't want to even answer that because I can't say that
like
for
if it's
sure.
down, it's down.
Right, and I'm afraid to give you an answer because I don't know the answer. And I mean, we've had several hiccups, and I know that's well known all over the state.
We could get a little bit of qualitative data out of the administrators too, and just ask them how they're feeling.
Of course we
and
can.
Get some information, so.
so let me just ask, so if no action included talking to the student, is that, talking to the student, is that action?
Oh,
Or
of
is
course,
that as?
no, it's certainly action. I'm not sure, again, this is policy
That's what I'm not sure,
4373,
yeah.
right? And so there are choices based on what the state puts out of things that you can do. And some things require, for example, the serious issue would be bringing a weapon to school. We don't have a choice in what we do. We do it. There are choices for less egregious issues about being disrespectful or, in other words, having even a fight. There are levels and tiers to what you can choose from to enact as an administrator. So I think, presenting that to you, and I'd be happy to get that for you all, that will be enlightening as well.
All right. Any other board member updates?
Well, I just wanted to ask who will be contacting the delegation that came in to talk about dyslexia education. Will that be Norma Gaines, or will that be someone from the central office? Because normally when delegations come in, I think we all are hoping there is at least some dialogue
We
with
certainly
them
can reach
to
out,
that,
whether
yeah.
That's whether it be through Tiffany's office or CNI, somebody from the team will reach out and communicate with
Because
them.
it seemed as though they were offering grant funds to be able to maybe try to do some different kinds of.
They actually spoke with us today before the meeting.
Okay.
They came in earlier today to let us know that they were going to be here. So we'll make an effort to reach out to them and
With
get
some
more
type of
information.
plan one way or the other. Either it's not going to be able to meet our needs for X, Y, and Z reason, or it is.
Mhm.
And I know that this is a extremely sensitive issue for families, and I'm sure many of us have people in our families who have suffer from the same challenges. So, I mean, I just think a lot of times when delegations come, they think they're going to have direct dialogue with us, and that's not appropriate, or that's not what we're able to do. So I just wasn't wondering.
No, we will definitely reach out to them and make sure that we appreciate them being here and get some more information from them to see how we might be able to utilize their services.
Okay, Superintendent, policy.
One thing before we get to the policies, what I really want to do is say thank you to the public for being so tolerant of our phones here at the board office. We have had a battle, especially over the last couple of weeks, with our phone lines as far as calls coming in and our ability to use the external phone system to make phone calls out or to return phone calls. It was determined that when it rains, the lines are getting wet and the inside of the lines, whatever they're made of, are being exposed to the weather, and that's shutting our system off. And so I know I reached out to Mr. Lytle. In fact, we placed a work order back in July with Frontier. We are where we are on the list. But because things had gotten so bad for us as far as being able to take phone calls from the public, we reached out to Mr. Lytle, and I know Mr. Lytle had a discussion with the county commission, and we were able to kind of get bumped up simply because of the fact that, you know, we're a pretty serious public service as far as people being able to communicate with the board office here. So Frontier came right out. 911 came out, looked at our system. Frontier came out. They've been working on it. I believe they worked all day today.
They're still working.
Yeah, they're still working. So I think we may have turned the corner. But I wanted the public to know that we appreciated their patience as we struggled through that effort. So we are getting all new lines run to this building. That'll be fiber, and everything's been ordered. The work order's been put in. So I think we're in pretty good shape. So moving forward. But
And if I could just add, Mike Fortney from Mecca 911 was very helpful.
Yeah.
He came out and met with us, and you know, his insight was good for us. But we have placed tickets since July, since we've been moving in here, to try to correct the problem.
The one thing since you guys did bring that up, I was going to wait till a later meeting. They did mention, 911 did mention a emergency contact communications with all schools and all. I mean, I'm sure Mike's been talking to you guys about that. And that's going to be the next effort. We're going to go forward with 911. So if there's a power outage or communications outage, it doesn't affect the school system, and we can still communicate with the emergency responders. So it's going to. This is actually as bad as the communication with the phone systems have been. It's going to end up being something we needed to go forward with anyhow. So.
And that is actually in progress. I downloaded mine. I communicated today with it. Because it does elevate us, and we did have this, but we, over COVID and I guess a few years, we have not used it. But you're right, it's so very, very important. So Chris has given us the directions. I know I did mine this weekend.
So we're up and running.
Yes,
already?
yes.
Well, I won't have to bring it up in the
yes.
future. So that's awesome. And we appreciate 911 for that.
We do.
So let's ram through some policies.
Yep. All right, down to our policy work for this evening. First of all, letter A, this is policy 3531, unauthorized work stoppage. You saw this at your last meeting. This is for first reading. Superintendent recommends that the board approve policy 3531.
So moved. Jumped ahead of you, didn't I?
Second.
I was waiting. This is first reading.
Correct.
Okay. All right, any discussion?
This is a state policy, it's dictated to us, is that correct? I mean, we're just, right, I mean, we're not,
It's a reflection of the current state of the law in West Virginia.
okay.
And if you open the policy, actually, one of the things that we have on all of our policies at the very end, it will share with you where it comes from. So for
Okay,
example,
yeah,
this one comes
right.
from West Virginia Code 18-5-45A and the other ones that are listed.
Right.
So you can always see where they come from.
So it really doesn't matter how I vote, it's just gonna pass anyway. We have to abide by it anyway, right?
Abide by the
Yes,
law.
we do.
Well, okay.
That would be something you could take up with the legislative body to get the law changed, which then would change the policy.
Okay, all in favor of policy 3531 on unauthorized work stoppage, first reading, signify by aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed the same.
Aye.
That brings us, did you oppose or did you?
Dan opposed.
You opposed?
Yes.
Okay, sorry, I didn't.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. All right, Superintendent?
Item B is policy 4531. This is unauthorized work stoppage. This is also for first reading. Superintendent recommends that the board approve policy 4531 as presented.
Need a motion?
So moved.
Second. Okay, Mike second, that. Any conversation? Same thing, coming in line with state law. Hearing no conversations, all in favor of policy 4531 on unauthorized work stoppage, first reading, signify by aye.
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 Opposed the same.
Aye.
Superintendent?
Item C is policy 4115, job descriptions. This is for first reading. Superintendent recommends that the board approve policy 4115 as presented for first reading.
Need a motion?
So moved.
Any conversation? Questions? All in favor of policy 4115, job descriptions, first reading, signify by aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed the same. Superintendent?
Right, item D is policy 4120.04, the employment of substitutes. And Jennifer, you want to talk about the changes to this policy?
Sure. So this change is primarily the result of passage of House Bill 3191, which requires notification to retired employees when they become reemployed on a part-time or temporary basis of how it might impact their retirement. I will point out this policy is specific to service personnel only.
Jennifer, can you do a real quick brief for the board on kind of what practice we're using now as far as the actual administration of the policy? Because I do know in the new language, it references the term the superintendent may.
Yes.
Meaning that we have some discretion in the usage of the policy. So could you just talk to the board about how we're actively administering the policy currently?
So I think you're talking about the enforcement of the number of days that the
Yes.
employees work. So as part of our group interview sessions that we now do, we go over with the applicants the use of Smart Find Express and how they're able to set their own schedules, make themselves unavailable as needed, and it's also in the instructions that they receive once they are board approved. So what happens often we get instances where we have substitutes who are no longer working. It's not uncommon for me to pull statistics and see that, in fact, at this point in this year, we have some people who've been called over 2,000 times and they've never answered their phone. So that indicates to us there's no longer a commitment on the part of this person to substitute for Monongalia County Schools. So the practice that we employ is I will send them a letter citing their statistics, letting them know we understand sometimes things happen, but we are looking for a commitment. And if they would like to discuss this, please contact me by a certain date. If I don't hear from them, I will ask the superintendent to remove their name from the substitute list. This way, we're kind of keeping the list clean, so we know exactly how many subs we have who are willing to work. And also, we don't have people on the sub list who aren't willing to sub but are still bidding on jobs and holding a seniority date that might predate the people who are subbing on a regular basis.
And is it my understanding that the substitutes with the system have the ability to go in and mark themselves unavailable, and the system would not then recognize that as a non-answered call?
That's correct. So if someone marks themselves unavailable, if they're going on vacation, so we do offer flexibility to our substitutes. If they're going on vacation and they mark themselves unavailable for a week, they won't get calls to work on those days. So, and they can even make themselves so that no calls come into them on those days. So if it's for a future assignment, there's a lot of flexibility there. What we do ask is if someone's going to be unavailable for longer than 2 weeks, that they contact us to let us know why, and we can make a notation in their record in SmartFind so we know why they're not working.
Thank you, Jennifer.
So these 5 instances, they don't have to be consecutive, it's just 5 total?
That's correct.
And then if they fall off the wagon, so to speak, they can't be reused for 2 years?
We have been more lenient in letting people back on lately.
Well, I'm saying
the
that's
past couple of years have been a little bit of an anomaly. We had some people who did not want to work because of risks associated with COVID, or they were taking care of someone, but generally, as a rule, yes, it is. The wait period is 2 years, because what happens, people use us as their backup plan. So they get a job somewhere else, and then, okay, I don't want to sub for you anymore, but then that job falls through, and then they kind of flow back on and off the sub list. But we really, really, truly need a commitment from people.
Well, the question I have, my concern is the word shall. Back with him, it has may, superintendent may recommend. Does that mandate? That's what I'm saying. So you were saying we were flexible.
Well, because of COVID.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Now it says shall.
Right.
Right. So it's definite shall.
Yes.
Okay. I'll be eligible.
Shall provides no flexibility.
That's what I'm saying.
Yep.
So it's a mandatory 2 years.
You're correct.
We can't be flexible with them then at that point. I just want to make sure we're clear if anybody's listening to that part.
Now, we do let people, we give them the opportunity to resign rather than be terminated under this policy.
So if they resign, then they can.
Yes.
See, that's information we need to have out there. Make sure.
Because it says terminated. It says
Right.
if they're terminated under.
Because we have a large substitute list for professional and service, but we still need more substitutes.
We do. The service list isn't as large as it once was. We probably have in the neighborhood of 68 subs, but we're still short of 8 subs every day. We are in a critical need right now for custodians. Bus drivers, we currently have no subs. So we're
2 years seems like a long time to keep somebody from subbing if we need them. And
our experience is, if they're not willing to sub now and we let them back on, we go through the exact same thing again. It's a lot of work for a department for someone who's really not committed to the job. But again, we give them the opportunity to resign. If they contact me at all, we put them down as a resignation, if there's any reason they give me at all. if they don't contact me, is the only way they go on as a termination. It's very rare that you see a substitute termination on the personnel list.
Yeah, really. And they can email you if the phones don't work.
Yes, I don't remember
Nancy, you're gonna jinx us.
Well, I mean, I think we just have to be clear, because some people might say, well, I've called there, 50 times, but if the phones don't work, they don't work. So you're gonna have to either stop in or do an email so that you at least know what's happening. Because I think what's difficult with the substitutes are, our teachers have a prescribed amount of days they can have. They have bereavement time or sick time, or they can apply for other FMLA and things. And substitutes really can't do that the same way. So they have to work with you or work with the office and know how to work the system. So you realize why they're not answering those calls. And I just think, people don't always realize that.
And it's burdensome. This is burdensome on our department. This takes me days to go through these statistics and write these letters and do all of this, and I do it regularly.
Well, and we appreciate it, because it is better to have a cleaner sublist and to have real people that want to come in. So, I'm just hoping everybody wants to start working again. That's my hope for the future.
Me too.
Okay, Superintendent?
I think you all need to vote.
No,
Discussion.
that's a no vote.
Oh,
It's coming
that's
back.
right, my
These
fault.
are the no
I'm
votes.
sorry, you're right. Okay, item E, policy 4125, competency testing for service personnel. We have some changes to this as well. So Jennifer?
This is a result of passage of the replacement policy for West Virginia Board of Education Policy 5314. So this does reflect the current West Virginia Board of Education policy. If you're not familiar with service personnel competency testing, for every classification of service personnel, there is a test that they are required to pass prior to being employed. So this speaks to those tests.
Any questions? Superintendent?
All right, the last policy this evening is policy 4242, service personnel staff development. And we do have a handful of changes here as well. So Jennifer, what are we looking at here?
So again, this is as a result of West Virginia Board of Education policy repeal and replacement, and it's State Board Policy 5314 again. And this addresses just some more reporting to the state from the district level at the end of each year. I will say, like everything, our service personnel, the Staff Development Council did not meet often in the past couple of years, again, as everything else kind of slimmed down. So we are to the point that the group is, I believe, ready to start meeting again, and we need to have an election of members and officers again.
We've had a very active service personnel group in the past.
Yes.
As far as having professional development
Oh,
sessions in
absolutely.
the summer
Yeah.
and all of those kind of things.
Yes, absolutely.
That's what I mean.
I will say it would be nice to get membership or representation from all of the classes of service personnel. It's kind of hard. A lot of people just aren't interested in doing it.
And there's no choices for us in this wording.
No, it's just in line with state policy, yes.
So if Amendment 4 passes, are we going to get these policies the same way, or does no one know? I'm just curious.
I would think if Amendment 4 passes, then they will all come to us more or less in the form of the legislation versus the state policies, I would assume. I really don't know, though.
So that may complicate some of our direction on some of these policy changes.
It could, and interpretation.
Okay. I didn't know if anyone had shared with you how they plan to move that forward.
Okay.
Superintendent, personnel.
Superintendent recommends that the board approve the personnel list as presented. I have no changes.
Any questions? Hearing none, all in favor of the personnel
I need
list?
a motion.
We need a motion.
Oh, sorry.
So moved.
Sorry, Michael. Go ahead.
Second.
Thanks, Nancy. Okay. Now, any questions? Still hearing none. All in favor of the personnel list as presented signify by aye.
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 Opposed, the same. Thank you for correcting me on that.
We do have a personnel list addendum this evening. Superintendent recommends that the board approve the addendum as presented to you this evening. I have no changes there as well.
Need a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any questions?
I have a question. I know Dan had brought up before, when there's a new position, no matter what it is, does it have to be on the personnel list, or can it be a separate line item under personnel so that it could be discussed what a new position is? And I'm not just, there's one on here, so just thinking of all the time, if there's a new position that's requiring funding, does it have to be blended in to all of the people who have been offered a position and accepted? Or can it be a third page?
Jennifer, what do you think? Can it be a standalone item on the agenda?
Well, we could, yes.
Yeah. I guess there's no legal, there's nothing that would prevent us from doing it.
No.
You're talking about just new positions.
Any new position that requires,
Extra funding.
a vote or a whatever, if you couple it in with all of the people who have been hired, if there was some contest to it, it would be held up. All of these people's jobs would be held up if we had to, because it's on the same page, correct?
That's correct.
That's correct.
No, I will say, what past practice has been, we'd usually just talk about it then, and if they feel there is a question about it, it's been removed. It can
Pull it
be,
in.
we've amended the motion and removed it. The other thing is, maybe we've just been fortunate because that has not ever occurred when we approved them in this manner. Just as a point of past
Right,
history.
it just
There is the ability for the superintendent to pull.
Well, say for example, if Jen saw one that she had problems with, she could recommend.
I'm just saying, any new position
Right.
that requires
I'm-
funding, if it could be discussed separately from approving everybody else's job so that it didn't get.
Just make it a line item, and we can just do that from now on.
Good.
Yeah.
So just for asking, what is the student advocate? Because that's something I've not seen under Title I, because they have special names for all of their positions.
Well, it's a position we've created for a school. And again, Title I allows for us to come up with different ways to address some of the needs at schools. And I think everyone is experiencing the same issues and trying to support students that have needs academically or socially, and helping form plans for those students to make sure they have the right supports at their school. This is a pilot for us. We were at a training a few weeks ago when Title I has said this is the kind of thing that the federal dollars supports. So we see a need for it at the particular school, and we really want to try to support the students there. And this is another avenue to do that.
So will it only support the students that are eligible and meet all the Title I guidelines, or is it a school?
It's all
It can
schools.
be any,
It's
it could be
everyone
a
at that
school-wide
school.
position?
Absolutely.
Okay.
We're looking for obviously good teachers, and teachers even that have the behavior analyst certifications with them. That'll be a preference on the job posting. But because we have a lot of good teachers out there that I think could embrace this role and want to do it to support the students. So we'll see how we do with it, but it is absolutely something now that Title I is supporting nationwide.
So it's academically based and not social work based, or
No,
like
it's
some,
not
a
a
lot
social
of their,
work. No,
their
it is not
positions
social
are.
work. It's academics and behaviors.
Okay, all in favor of the personnel list addendum as presented signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same.
All right, one last thing under personnel, Mr. DeSantis always gives me some updates on what we have going on in the professional world. And he did sit in on a call today with personnel directors, and it was announced that there are between 1,600 and 1,700 unfilled positions across the state of West Virginia. So I do count our blessings that we're not contributing to that number significantly. We have had 6 resignations since the opening of school. We've had 2 retirements since the opening of school, and we currently have 19 professionals on a leave of absence. We have 2 high school positions posted currently. One is special ed and the other is English. We don't have any middle school positions posted currently. And we have 2 elementary positions posted. One is special ed and one is for a counselor. And then we have the 1 countywide position that's posted.
Thank you for that update, and our next board meeting will be October 25th, 6 o'clock right here. So, we're adjourned.
Thank you, board members.